What's up, you guys? It's Pierre. Today, and the last few days, I've been sick, and that makes it a good time to review the Whoop 3.0. I did an unboxing of it a while back. I've been using it for like 6 months now, and I'm gonna give you some quick feedback. In short, I love it, and I'm gonna keep using it, and I even got myself the Whoop 4.0. Actually, they since I hadn't even been a member for 6 months yet, they just sent this as a they sent this to me automatically. So I'm going to unbox the 4.0 at the end of this. But first, a quick review. So what the Whoop is this band. It goes on your wrist. I think the new version has some different options, like putting it on a sleeve or something if you're runners, but most people I've seen, and there are a fair few number of my friends around Philly that use this thing, just keep it on their wrist. I put it on my right wrist because I like to keep a watch still. The Whoop does not have any sort of watch face or watch component at all. It's just a mesh band. It's very comfortable. It's pretty thin, and generally you kind of just forget that it's there. The way the Whoop works is you put the thing on your wrist and it collects data and it pairs with the Whoop app. And because there's no screen or anything on the band, you just get all of your information from the app. And what sets Whoop apart is it balances both exercise and recovery, or as they call it, strain and recovery. And so the first thing you do is when you sleep, it starts gathering information about some baseline statistics about your body, the things that it looks for. So last night, the first thing you do when you wake up after you've been using it for a few days and calibrated it is you get a recovery score. So I get a green recovery last night, 67%, which tells me that although I've been sick, actually here was the day before, 41. That was when I was, just getting over this flu. And the day before that, when I was at my worst, 21. And I'll show you how it, calculates that, or some of the factors that go into that. But I could sort of tell my body was off, which is what's reminding me to do this review. So in this case, you can click on this recovery tab and sort of swipe up, and you'll see things like heart rate variability. Each person, depending on your age, gender, and how fit you are, these numbers are going to be totally different. Like last night, my heart rate variability was a 26. I'm not going to go in too much detail and try and explain what that was. I think it's the amount that your heart rate varies over the course of your sleep. Now 26 might be good for me, but I've seen some of the pro squash players screenshots of their Whoops, and it's like multiples of mine. It makes me feel like I'm on death's door when I see someone younger and someone fitter post their number. So, but this number is like personal to you and relative to you. So that's all we're tracking is your relative heart rate variability. The other thing is your resting heart rate. You can see a spike there. That was the night that I was kind of the most sick, and I guess my resting heart rate was kind of off the charts. And they also calculate your respiratory rate, which for me doesn't change that much, although I was tracking it when I first got sick to say, like, oh, do I have COVID? How's my respiration? Nothing changed too much, although it did go up a little bit. Anyway, so the bottom line is you start the day with a recovery score, and then throughout the day it tracks your strain. And just by sitting, I've just gotten up and got myself a cup of coffee. That's about all I've done so far. Walked up and down the stairs a couple times. So I've got this sort of small amount of strain, and it's in the overview section here. If you can see, there's like the strain is kind of this circular kind of number, and then, the recovery goes a certain distance, and then the strain, it kind of encourages you to do enough strain to match how well you recovered the night before. So it both encourages you to recover well, because you want to get that green score, and then it encourages you to get more exercise to match how good your recovery was. So if I were to, and I'm going to go into that a little more in a second, but if I were to sum up the whole Whoop experience, like I've both been getting more sleep and more exercise as a result of using this device. So how does the strain work? Well, like if I were to go play squash, or if I would like whatever sport I go play, it recognizes elevated heart rate and it says, oh, you've done an activity, and sometimes it'll even guess, oh, you played squash. You can change it if it's wrong. Sometimes it is wrong. Let me go back to a day that I did some exercise because I haven't done anything while I've been sick. So here's a day where my recovery was pretty high, 88, and I played some squash, and it has calculated a strain of 14.6, and that's some metric that's a Whoop metric. You don't need to worry about it too much. You just sort of look, and if you want to go into, you know, the details of your exercise, your max heart rate, 188, by the way. I don't think I've been above 180 in a few years, so I don't know if that's totally right. But that was a good day right there. Right, so anyway, it tracks your exercises. If you do multiple in a day, it'll track it. It'll either auto-detect or you can proactively tell it, okay, I wanna track this exercise right now. So you can do a whole bunch of different activities, from manual labor, Australian football, baseball. There's this whole list of stuff. Pickleball, running, stage performance, tactical operations, yoga, you know, and squash. But not pedal, or paddle, as they call it overseas. I don't know why. I asked them to add it. I like contacted their support, and they're like, yeah, no, we have paddle tennis in there. I'm like, it's a different sport. They're like, oh, we'll get in touch with our IT about this. Of course, nothing happened. So they're behind the curve on padel, but they have a lot of other sports, including, what was the thing they had? I think it was like spike ball. Yeah, they even have spike ball TM, but not padel. Anyway, let's not get too mad about that. What else can I tell you? You know, I don't want to complicate this. I just want to tell you a story. The other night we were watching. We always have like a family movie night on Friday night, and we take turns picking. One of the kids picked Moana, the Disney movie, and so we put it on, and I'm watching it. And I'm like, how do I not recognize this scene? And because I know I've seen it like multiple times. And then I'm like, wait, there's another scene where like I just don't remember this part at all of the movie. I'm like, how is this possible? I've seen this movie several times. And I'm just sort of musing about it, and one of the kids goes, well, you used to fall asleep every time we would watch a movie, which is true. Like Friday I would get home from work, and you know, we'd have a cocktail and put the movie on, and I might take a little snooze that might take up, I guess, apparently large chunks of Moana and other movies. And I realized at that moment, and I think they did too, because I talk enough about this stupid Whoop, that it's because of this that I recognize when I'm not getting enough sleep, because it gives you like a bad grade on your recovery. Actually, I should have pointed out, sleep is actually a separate tab. So this is Saturday morning here, so I could sleep in. I got 100% sleep score. Oh, you're so jealous. Probably, but you know, some nights like that's hard to do, especially if I play squash late at night. I'm like still elevated, you know, it's getting towards 11 p.m. or whatever, and I have to wake up early because the kids are going to school. Like, it's hard to always get that good sleep. You have to fight for it, and you know that everyone's life is busy. The point is that this helps me get more sleep. Like, I'm not needing to take those random naps or just passing out in the middle of Moana. I finally got to watch it all. Whose creative masterpiece. Yeah, so it's really helped me recover better, and like I said earlier, it also helps me get more exercise, because when I see that I had a good recovery, then I want to go out and find something to do, even if it's solo hitting or whatever. You know, like, it just encourages you to do something all the time. So this is an expensive item. I think it was $300 a year if you buy it. It's something like that. If you buy it on a yearly plan, you can go month to month or longer than a year. Yeah, $288 if you do a year's worth, and it's recurring. So, you know, it's really just like kind of like a $300 a year fitness coach, virtual fitness coach. That's how I think about it. It's a lot of money, but it's also, I feel like I'm spending it on my health. I feel better, like I'm sleeping better, I'm exercising better. And not that I was like, you know, super unfit and unhealthy before, but this is just like up the game a little bit. And so I definitely feel strongly about it, and definitely renewed, or will renew, my membership when it comes up. A couple more things I want to point out about the Whoop 3.0 before we put that one to bed. It can get wet. That's very handy. I mean, when you're playing squash or whatever, you're sweating, it's getting wet to begin with. But I just take it in the shower and keep it on, and just to get it kind of rinsed off and clean. That's no problem. You can also wear it swimming. I think that you'll have to look on the Whoop website if you're like a diver. I don't think it's gonna work if you go scuba diving or something. It only goes to a certain number of meters, and there's a certain hour limit of how long it can be in the water. I'm not a swimmer, so it's not really a factor, but my point is it can get wet, it can be in the shower, you can go in the pool with it, no problemo. I've done it many times. Other things to tell you, in addition to the app, you also get like emails and kind of weekly summary reports of your sleep and recovery and how well you're doing over time, which I think is like pretty handy, and it kind of has this gamification aspect where it's like, you've unlocked, 10 recoveries badge, and it's kind of made up, but whatever, like it keeps you engaged with the whole plan. In terms of any problems I had with it, like just minor stuff, I would say that putting on sunscreen, I sometimes just get like all over this. You kind of have to keep it clean, keep it out of the way. I had a hard time opening this clasp at times. Sometimes I had to get like a little bit of a pry tool, like I would use the end of a nail clipper or anything, thin, to just get under there. It's loosened up over time, but that was a hassle for a while, and it's like annoying when you can't get it off. You can also just take it off by like sliding it off your wrist, but it's purposefully on there a bit tight, so I don't really love to do that. Once in a while, like I would have to repair it with my phone, which is like happen more often than I probably want, but at the end of the day, it was usually pretty easy. It would just reconnect, resync, and occasionally I had to go through a longer process of like starting from scratch, and I don't know, it took a few minutes to kind of deal with and tech support myself, but I never had to like reach out to their support. It was always eventually resolvable on my own. In terms of battery life, I just did a quick test and basically charged it up to 100%, used it normally, and it took 5 days to get down to a 20% charge. And so that kind of tells you, like, you need to, every 5 days you need to come in with the battery pack and slide it on there and let it charge, which is pretty quick and pretty easy, and you can walk around like this. It's not even, like, even this is sort of, it's a little bulky, but it's not even that far off from a watch. So it's not a problem to do this. There's just a little bit of maintenance involved. You got to charge the battery pack and then slide it onto the Whoop. Actually, you can do it all together. If you take the Whoop off, put the battery pack on the Whoop, and then plug it in, that'll charge it. But I like to leave it on at all times, so it's best to charge the battery, have it ready to go, and then when the Whoop needs charging, you put the battery pack on the Whoop. Okay, yeah, so there's like a little bit of maintenance, but it's definitely manageable, and overall been definitely worth it. All right, that being said, there is a new Whoop out, and I got it, and it's in this box, and we're going to unbox it right now. So hang on, let me get a knife. Whoop 4.0, unlock yourself. Unlock yourself. Satisfying. I want to open pretty much everything with a little rip tie like that. Okay, so we've got a kind of paper cover here. Here it is. We've got, whoops, what happened there? Okay, we've got the Whoop setup guide. Don't know if I'm gonna need that or if it's just gonna transfer, but what I want to do here is compare the two. So in the box we've got a tiny USB cable. I don't know why it's so strangely short with this. I don't even know what these things are called that sit in the middle, but anyway. Oh, it's a USB-C. Interesting. The old one was I think the old one was a USB micro, so that looks like it's different. Let's see. Yeah, the battery pack, this would be the battery pack here. So this is a USB-C battery pack now. Got it, okay. And I'll show you the old battery pack. Here's the old one. This is what slides onto the Whoop. I've got a little sticker on there with my phone number on it because they're kind of expensive. You don't want to lose them. So I'm going to take this piece of paper off. I'll just show you visually, you know, when you charge your Whoop 4.0, you're going to put it over the top like that, I'm guessing. Come on, buddy. Well, I better take the paper off first. Okay. We got the paper off. Here's the 4.0. There's a lot of stuff to remove before use. Okay, this is much smaller than the current one. That's interesting. It'd be nice to put this on in one sec. But the charging is what I'm trying to do here. It works a little differently from the prior one. It doesn't appear to have any metal contacts inside this. I don't know how that works, if it's like one of those things that charges your phone through the air. The old version had these kind of metal contact points here and would slide on to like that. So here's the two side by side, the 3.0 and the 4.0. They're both, because they both have the black band, they look pretty indistinguishable, but the new one is definitely, it's definitely shorter from top to bottom by a few, you know, a few millimeters, I would say. See if we can show this on camera. The old one's in the background, 3.0. You can see it's a bit longer. And in terms of thickness, they just are about the same, I would say, in terms of thickness. I'm gonna put the new one on, the 4.0, and see how it feels on the wrist, if it feels any different. It does feel a tiny bit smaller, but you know, it's one of those things, it's an incremental improvement. It does feel smaller. I like it. I have a bigger wrist, I would say, so this will probably feel better. If you have a smaller wrist, it won't feel quite. This one, the old one, the 3.0, was totally fine for my wrist, but if you have a smaller wrist, I think this 4.0 is gonna be a big improvement for you, because those few millimeters are gonna make a big difference. So lightweight, let's see if there's a weight difference. Interesting. The old Whoop, the 3.0, 20 grams. The new Whoop, 27 grams. So it's actually 7 grams heavier despite the smaller form factor. Interesting. It doesn't feel heavier. I guess I can't detect 7 grams on my wrist, but there you go. It's a tiny bit heavier. So the clasp seems to work about the same. You kind of pull up from the bottom. Actually, it works better than the 4.0. Already works better than the 3.0, because it took a while for me to be able to open this clasp. Sometimes it would just, I needed to find something to pry it open like that, and it's gotten looser over time. The 4.0 is already much easier to open and close. I think they've designed this to be more interchangeable with some of their other things beyond wrist attachments. I think, like I said, they have some, you know, different ways of attaching it, maybe some sleeves for the shoulder or whatever. If you're a triathlete and you don't want to wear a watch, or you have other stuff on your wrist and you don't want to wear this there. The way that the clasp works is basically this just hooks into the top kind of pole here, and you just pull it down over top and click it shut. If you want to change bands, you can do that. You can pop this out, and then this just I can't remember what this thing is called, but you just weave it through twice, and it, like a watch band. So you just unweave that and unhook this, and you can get yourself a new band, which I did with the 3.0. I got myself a summer band. It's gray with white. These are a little bit of a nuisance to switch. Just, the 3.0 version, I have a feeling the 4.0 is a little bit easier. I don't think these are interchangeable. I'm gonna try right now. Well, it couldn't be because the sort of chassis here is longer and it fits the 3.0. So my spare band was short-lived, I guess. I'll have to get another spare for the 4.0 if I want to come spring. If I want to have my spring look ready to go. Differences of the 4.0 versus the 3.0, as I understand it, aside from being able to switch more easily like I mentioned, I think they also have the ability to, it's going to track some more pieces of data. I noticed this coming in the app. There's this health monitor thing, and some stuff's already being tracked. Respiratory rate, resting heart rate variability like I talked about. Blood oxygen content and skin temperature are the two kind of new features to unlock with the 4.0. So I'll be testing this out. I'm gonna try it. We're gonna come back with a review in a couple months after I've had a chance to kick the tires. Hope that was helpful. Hope you enjoyed this review of the Whoop 3 and an unboxing of the Whoop 4. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you later.